Education Online students, and welcome to our lesson about Pompeii. Great. So Pompeii is here on the western side of Italy, very close to Mount Vesuvius. Now, you might know about Pompeii because of what happened there many years ago when Mount Vesuvius erupted and essentially froze Pompeii in time with its ash. So we're going to talk about that right now. This is Mount Vesuvius, and Mount Vesuvius it looks like it's far away, but it's close enough to have had a large impact on Pompeii at the time. So what we have here on 79 AD, August 24th, Mount Vesuvius erupts, and then darkness falls on Pompeii around 5 p.m. So you see this column of molten rock that's not lava, but it's like a foam, and it ejects into the sky at super high speeds, going up 30 kilometers into the sky, and it plunges the city into darkness. And then as it starts to come down, it moves forward very fast. It's like this boiling rock and gas that's mixed together with the air. It cools, solidifies into this pumice stone that's falling on Pompeii, like ricocheting Pompeii with this pumice stone. And it's very, very deadly inside. It's moving like 200 kilometers an hour. And this follows with earthquakes, pyroclastic surges that continue for several days. Now, this wave of this magma that comes forward into Pompeii is 5 times hotter than boiling water. And this cloud of gas and ash literally incinerates everything and in its path. And it's so intense that it turns everything into this charcoal. And this charcoal idea is kind of like what freezes the city in time. And for 1700 years, it remains completely buried and forgotten in a way. 10 billion tons of pumice in this particular location. So when people start to uncover Pompeii, this takes a lot of time, effort, patience, because when you're doing this archaeological dig, you have to be very careful, but things are literally frozen in time. Okay, many, many years. This is the more modern pictures of people there. You have to be careful with what you're finding. And as you do find things, you also have to deal with the things that can collapse at the same time. So, you have to try to preserve what's there. So in 2015, 2016 or so, these two walls were trying to collapse. They're trying to preserve them. Now, this is what we have as a result of many, many years of people excavating and trying to find more and more Pompeii. You can see it's like the city, there's a roadway, there's buildings, there's people frozen literally in time. Okay, so this person is found clutching, like, they're crouched and they're clutching, waiting for something to go by, but they're frozen in that particular position. This person is lying down, possibly sleeping. This person's on the floor covering their face. The idea of wherever you were, that's how you were found. Okay. And this is from, this quote is from Pliny the Younger. It's considered to be a first-hand account, someone who survived and managed to get away further along. He talks about his uncle going down to the water, thinking that maybe he can escape by the water, but that's not going to happen. Then when they go back days later, they found his body was intact, uninjured, still fully clothed, and looking more like sleep than death. Literally, people were frozen the way they are. This time in history was so monumental that so many movies have been made about it. This one came out in 2005, and then you guys might know some of these characters today, but this one came out in 2014. A little bit more entertaining, little less facts, but you see a combination of the gladiators fighting, a love story, obviously eruption, all of that. This gives you an image of a typical bathhouse, a Roman house, sorry. So you have their shops, and then their rooms, and then you have the kitchen, the garden area, okay, the garden room. All of these things are important parts of a Roman house, a typical Roman house. So this is what they discovered. The thing that about Mount Vesuvius freezing everything in time is literally everything is frozen as it is. So it hasn't had to suffer the effects of weather and salt and just human beings being destructive. It didn't have to deal with that for so long. So now we can see everything preserved as it is. If you have time, go back to the slideshow and watch this video about what the typical Roman house looks like. Take a tour of it. But these are some of the things that you would find in a Roman house. In a mantle, this one here is this one here, this here. So you'd be placing something big on top of it in the middle or on either side, but still preserved in quite its original form. The artwork on the walls was found as is. You can see here that they're very big still and on displaying their artwork. Here would have been like the fireplace hearth area, places for shop entrances and worship possibly. But you can also see here that they had writings on the walls that the people of Pompeii, not unlike today, maybe they had something to say. They were fairly literate. They had their basic abilities to read and write, and they would put things on the walls. And like here, the graffiti, they would put graffiti on the walls as well at the time. And so think about today, people do this today. They did this back then as well. This portrait looks almost like what we would see today, a wedding portrait in a way. You take a picture, you put it on the wall. This is what it would be done at their time. And it was found that because the people were preserved intact in their form, in their original state, you could figure out also the types of foods people ate, when they would eat, that kind of stuff by the level of digestion and stuff. So just as in Rome right now, many people snack and eat in the midday meal at a counter, just like we do today. A lot of people go to a counter, they eat at the counter, like their fast food. So just look at this incredible stonework and how preserved it is. This would be the store opening, right? This is the traditional bread. Like Rome, the people back then would have their bread with every meal. This is an example of the bread with every meal they'd have. Not unlike today, people eat bread with every meal. The emperor at the time who had to deal with Mount Vesuvius eruption was Emperor Titus, but he also had to deal with the Great Fire of Rome in 80 AD. So two major disasters he had to deal with. So that just gives you a little bit about ancient time of Rome and Pompeii. And I can encourage you to continue with your lesson. If you've got any more questions, you just let me know. But otherwise, we'll talk next time.